Welcome to Sparking Success with Opalewski. Aaron brings you conversations that spark innovation, cultivate leadership skills, and pave the way for your business success. In each episode, we delve into the dynamic world of business and leadership, exploring strategies, insights, and success stories that fuel your professional journey.
Hi, everyone. Welcome back to Sparking Success. It's been 7.5 months since we've recorded an episode. And really today, I just wanted to talk through what we've been doing over those last 7.5 months. When we set up Sparking Success, this was a situation where we never wanted the podcast to be about theory. We never wanted to just become an influencer or just, have a podcast to have a podcast and try and put stuff out there that we think will get clicks, likes, or shares. We wanted it to be about real life business, real life experiences, whether that be our experiences or experiences of some of the great guests that we've had on and plan to have on in the future. And so part of that is there's seasons for things. And, we'd like to be more consistent with the podcast. We will be moving into 2026 here. But that period of 7.5 months have been a period of excitement, growth, just a ton of different things that we've been working on. And I'm never going to apologize or take the focus off what I said, and that is to go out and execute and create experiences that are worth sharing and learning things that can be brought back to this podcast to tactically walk people through how they can be successful. And so I look forward to going through some of the highlights of that today in the next couple episodes, really episodes throughout the year, hit on some things that I've personally learned in the last 7.5 months. So with that being said, I'll get into just some of the things that we worked on in that time period since May. It's hard to believe it's since May. I'm looking at EJ over here, and I told him before he started, like, man, I'm excited to be back in here. So he's on the side on the sound and video right now, and I think we're both pumped up. He's got some new cool stuff in the studio here too. So, all right. So the first thing that we focused on over the last 7.5 months, and that was one of my main responsibilities, is we recruited 3 key executives to the team. And the first person that we recruited started back in April. So we're still recording at that time when Ryan Amon started. And Ryan is our Vice President of Account Recruiting Management. Ryan's background is in automotive sales, and he worked his way up with a company that is a multi-billion-dollar tier supplier to the automotive industry and built a great career over 16 years at that company. And we love that about Ryan, that he stayed committed to something, that he built a career somewhere. And you can't do that without experiencing ups, downs, wins, learning, just everything. And showed consistency and commitment to what he was doing in that career. And so that was the first thing. The next thing that we looked at, you can see that on paper and you can learn about that with people and asking questions. But the next thing that we felt we knew about Ryan through the interview process and has 150% been the truth is we saw someone of high character, someone that was going to mesh well with the team, someone that was going to bring a great demeanor to the team. I can be super intense and passionate, and I've got better at being firm, fair, and calm, but I'm still intense and super passionate, and I'm not going to apologize for that. I think it's great because I care about what we do. But Ryan's the kind of guy, his demeanor brings in kind of a smoothness and a little bit more of a calmness to situations for our team. And I think that's great. And he's also someone that wants to be in front of the customer. So his main responsibility is to get in front of our current customers and talk to them about what we're doing with them and where we can maybe inject in some other service lines, and then getting back in front of former customers as well. which is always a challenge and a part of staffing, is making sure that you're focused on the lifetime value of your relationships. And we've talked about that in other episodes. And if I had to sum it up in a sentence, like that's what he's here to do, help us be good stewards of those relationships with our clients. So that's Ryan. Um, the second executive that we added, his name's Alex Gorman. Alex is our vice president of professional development. What does that mean? He's really here to work with our business unit leaders, our senior directors. He's working directly with our executive team as well. But his main focus within development is making sure that our leaders are developing and becoming great leaders. Secondarily, he's also working with our production team on that. So our recruiters, our account managers, our salespeople, our business development people. So spending time with them, both in trainings that we do kind of formally week to week, and then when he comes up here to Michigan, um, or just over teams, he's spending time with them as well. Kind of the third prong of his role is that he takes on key initiatives with any of our like operational production type projects that we have. So the big one that we have right now that I'll talk about a little bit more later is we just did an ATS and CRM transition, and he wasn't the only champion of that because it was such a big project. There were just different parts of it, but Alex really owned the production side of that and making sure that ATS was set up to optimally work for our recruiting, sales, account management, and business development teams. And his experience in those areas was really a nice add operationally to that process as someone that's done that and led by example before. So it's a big part of an ATS transition is that you just don't have someone in operations, which our operations team is amazing and they do great things and they know a lot about the industry, but they don't know necessarily every in and out of the recruiting process. And that's where Alex really came in and was the glue on what's been our phase one transition into our new system. Outside of what Alex is doing day to day, you're going to hear a common theme as I make these announcements, but high character person, wants to see people win, wants to win himself, wants to work hard, wants to have fun, wants to do it the right way. And I look at him as a man of character. He loves his wife and his two daughters, and he makes that very clear. He's all about creating great experiences with them, and that's something I've got to learn about Alex. I've got to meet his family. He lives in Nashville, so he flies up here once a month. But a man of high character, a former Marine, and just a leader of people. And we're proud to have him on this team. Not only has it been great to have him here since I think it was June, when Alex started. I say I think June because I feel like he started before because we talked for months leading up to that. But as good as he is at all the stuff within the business, I've just come to become, he's become a good friend of mine. And part of that is because we enjoy talking about the business so much. And so we try and get out to dinner frequently when he's up here. And those are some of my favorite experiences over the last year is just talking life, but a big part of that being staffing is a big part of each of our lives. Has been a big part of that. And just really enjoy my time where I get to talk with him about that and share ideas and past experiences and things that we believe are important for the industry as it moves forward. And it's been awesome. So that's Alex. The third executive that we added at the end of July, and his name's Dave Veris. He's our chief sales officer. And if you know anything about staffing, there's a very good chance that you know who Dave is. Dave's reputation precedes himself. He is the best in the world at selling staffing, specifically at a national program level. He spent 27 years with Aerotech. Allegis, at some points, he reported to the founder of that company. I could go down a list, and it deserves its own episode, and it'll get it. There'll be a guest coming up in an episode here pretty quick. But the list of rooms and meetings and contracts that he was able to bring in for that company is immense. And he was an integral piece. He'll tell you not the only piece, and that's true, but an integral piece to them growing to be a $13 billion behemoth, the largely held private staffing company in the world. And as good as he is at this, from a sales standpoint and be in front of the customer, it's been awesome to watch him come in and be a mentor to our team, to our leaders in all different areas, including outside of staffing. I'm watching EJ shake his head over here. I know that EJ and Dave have spent a lot of time talking. I, it's my hope. It was my hope in bringing him on that this would be the case, and seeing it come true where um, he's a mentor to other people in the organization has been a big blessing, and we're grateful to have him on the team. And so, as good as he is um, within what we do, and as a business person, he's a better human being, a man of high character, loves his wife of 30 plus years at this point, and talks fondly of her pretty much every time we talk about anything outside of business. And just a good man and a great person to have leading our young professionals and our executives and senior leadership team, inside of Spark. So, and again, we'll get more into Dave, but that's what we've been up to on the executive side, and that's been a huge focus of mine. And all those people have integrated in really well. So now, how about the hires that we've taken a swing at and it just has missed? Because it's important to share wins. It's important to share losses, because the reality of life is you're never going to have everything go your way, and things are never perfect, and there's always stuff to work on. Even within those hires that are going great, like we're talking every day about things that we need to fix, do better. Um, that's a big bulk of the conversation, is fixing things that aren't working or working through problems. Like, that's why you're in business, right? To solve problems. And part of that is how to operate, efficiently as a team. But the roles that we've tried to add that haven't worked out yet, and this is by no means a shot at those people. If anything, it's just on me that we took a swing and with good intentions and didn't work. But we've tried to add an AI systems integrator and SOP, systems integrator. So two kind of like operational, one more on the forefront of AI, one more just day to day operating procedures. And we tried to make those hires and hired some good people, but it just wasn't a fit within what we needed. And that's okay. And that's what I want to share within that. We were able to end those in ways that's like, hey, we wish those people well. In one case, we were able to give one of those people a good reference and help them find their next opportunity that they're still in. And so I'm grateful for that. And in one of the other situations, it's newer, and we'll see where that goes. But we really enjoy working with that person, and they did some good things here, and they were a huge part of our transition into our new ATS and CRM. And where it wasn't a fit overall, man, were they a help on that. And being in temporary staffing and doing contract positions for projects and stuff like that, like, that wasn't our intention to do it as a project-based role. But I would say it was a huge success in the fact that they helped us with that phase one transition. So not everything worked on it, but there was a lot of good that came out of it. And who knows what the future holds. I think we learned about a skill set, and there could be a future where we're able to bring that person back and do some additional work. So we wish them well. So as I've alluded to a few times, the next thing we did was build out a new ATS and CRM and make a heavy investment in that. It's a multi seven figure investment over its lifespan that can continue to grow as we grow the company. But we're excited about that. I don't mind sharing that, we decided to move with Salesforce on that, and an ATS that they have that's backed by Salesforce. And even though I'm not involved in the day-to-day process, I've been very involved in the vision of that and the execution of the budget for that. And we built out a whole team. So our VP of operations, Allie, the systems integrator that I mentioned, that AI systems integrator for a period of time, Alex, who I mentioned earlier, um, along with a couple of our other directors and then people that came in at different points. We had two people that championed it, and Allie and Alex, and then there was probably 12, 13 people involved in the adaption and implementation of that on our side, in a team of, I don't know, 10 to 15 people on the Salesforce and ATS side of that. So it's been quite the project, and we still have work to do on that. But I'm feeling really good when I hear from Fletcher, who's our president at Talent, or some of our other executives that have been here, or business unit leaders, or even people on the team, and they're like, man, like, we're learning the system, but holy crap, like, this is awesome. This is, especially at a top level, being able to view. We send a lot of reports on Excel or PDF or whatever they're coming through. And, your data is important. We've had other episodes about know your numbers. And we've always talked about having live trackers and TVs and like a vision. Like, we have reports that go on TVs, but it's not like live ticker to the moment. And we're like 99.9% there, where we have dashboards now that are live to the second, that you can have on your screen all day, that we could see what's happening by team member, by account, by business unit, or throughout the whole company. And again, I just laugh for a minute, because that's been a vision. And when we first set this up, it's like, oh, that'd be nice to have, but I didn't know that we were actually going to get there, with it within this process. Thought it was potentially possible, and we kind of take the leap with Salesforce, the ATS, and the implementation team, and our implementation team. So to sit here, kind of about 120 days, maybe 150 days since we really started that, like, going live with that implementation process, and to be able to say, like, man, like, that vision's coming to life in real time. It's pretty cool. And shoot, man, I think the first time we talked about that was probably like 2015 or 2016. And um, we probably could have obsessed over that and figured it out sooner. And I'm not going to say that maybe that would have been good, but I just think all things in due time. I don't think you necessarily, when you have big visions and big ideas, I don't want to deter you from those. I think you should absolutely have them. But I do want to challenge you that, like, hey, like, part of getting there is going out and doing and achieving and making progress and creating the team's means, resources, financially, talent wise. Like, you can't be everything to everybody, most likely. And if you have a client base and you're trying to do everything, out that you want to do, maybe big picture, your clients that you have are going to suffer, and they're paying you money, and they're trusting you to deliver a great product to them and great service to them right now. And so I just would advise, be careful with kind of getting your head in the sky too much, and getting away from what you need to do now to maybe that's going to get you there long term, because we all only have so much time in the day and so much resources, either in human capital, our own work ability, financial resources, but those things can grow. Your skills can grow. Your ability to grow a team can continue to evolve over time. Your resources can grow. And so some of this stuff, it's okay that some things are we're going to do that, but not now. And I know for someone that'll be important, because as leaders who care about what we do, we care about the business, we care about the clients, we want to will our dream into existence. That's all great, uh, but all things in due time. And sometimes our timeline and God's timeline are two different things, or how we get to certain parts of that journey don't look how we envision it, but that doesn't mean that you're not necessarily gonna get there. But how you don't get there is if you don't do a great job and be a good steward of the people that are giving you the opportunity to work with them from a business sense, opportunity to work with them and serve them, provide a great service or product to them right now. Like, that has to be at the forefront for all of us, of like, how do we do that so well that it propels us to do all those other things that we want to do. So that's our ATS. My main project over the last 7.5 months is really two-pronged. And that was probably the main reason why, outside of just the pure physical amount of work that's been done on that, we're kind of in limbo on some of this stuff on it was all coming together, right? So I didn't want to talk about that for a period of time. Probably just, this is me sharing personally, that I wanted to get that all sorted out. I never want to talk about things half-ass or um, we were figuring this out. I was figuring this out. I've learned so much, and I'm going to share, some of this. No, the reality is, like, we're not going to give away every secret and all the work, and like, you want that, come be part of Sparkle, come get vetted out on that, and that'll be a different conversation. But what we've done is, the first thing we were able to do is put a holding company together. And so really, this has been a vision for the last 5 years. And I'm super proud of what we did over the last 5 years. We built out this portfolio of companies because we grew it over 300% in that time period. So I'm proud of the people that did that. I'm proud of the people that are here. I'm proud of the people that were part of that at a stage and a season, and are no longer here day to day within in that, because they still play a role and have a legacy within this. But what started to come together 5 years ago, and the way we did that and the way we grew it, is great. I'll always be happy for that. But what we've put together now, where we actually have a holding company, we have a management company, and we have our operating companies. And now we're set up, and a lot of things had to happen. A lot of things had to happen. It wasn't as simple as just set those up like you see on some stupid Instagram post. There was tons of technical aspects that went into making that happen. But being able to make that happen fully sets the vision for what we were trying to build with that portfolio of companies. And so that's the first thing that I was working on. The second thing, which ties into this, these things are cousins, they're binded together. That second thing was putting together our investment incentive plan. And that plan will change the recruiting industry. And I just want to thank everyone that's been involved in the process. We got about 60 people. Well, not about, we have 60 people that are on the team. And, starting with the people that had, equity ownership and the way we had it set up, like, there's been a lot of changes that we had to go through, and they're all good changes. They're great changes, both for the business and for people personally, financially, really out the gate, and especially long-term, the long-term outset of what we're building. It's going to be life-changing for them. And that's all great, but it's still a change. And change is tough. No matter if it's good or bad, or so, I don't even like saying bad. If it's good or something that we feel in the moment is tough for us, it's a part of life. And even when it's great, there's still parts of it that may be hard, and it requires grit. It requires trust. It requires working through um, challenges of our own, confidence on like, hey, I was great at this, but am I going to be as good at the, there's all kinds of stuff that goes into that. And I just can't I can't thank the team enough, specifically our leadership group that had the most change, within that. Now they stand to have the most benefit, but they had the most change. And I can't thank them enough for putting their trust in what we're doing as an organization and in me personally. And it's just something I don't take lightly, and feel responsible for making sure that their trust in me and what we're doing is a huge success. And I will either will it into existence through God's grace and a bunch of other great people on this team, or I will die trying. One of the two. I'm sorry, I get a little emotional because it matters to me deeply. There's my relationship with God. There's my wife. There's my kids. And there's achieving this in that order. There's nothing else more important in that order. There's nothing else more important to me. It's on one hand, and so that's what we're gonna go do. That's what we've been working on. We'll talk more in a different episode about that IIP plan, because it warrants its own episode. Okay, couple more things. Set a big budget for 26. We talked about the ATS. Sorry, I'm looking at my notes here. Set a big budget for 26 in regards to expansion for Spark companies. And the first physical thing on that was that ATS CRM that I mentioned. The second would be that we're hiring an additional 30 people this year. So we got 60 people on the team. If we go perfect on this, that means we have 90 people. I'm here to speak to you on realities. I absolutely want the team to be at 90 people. I want everyone to be here. But it's also my responsibility to make sure we uphold standards, the culture, the mindset. And so the reality of that when you're hiring that many people, or just in general, it's probably not going to be 90 people. Like, we believe that net add of 30 will turn into the right 80 people to build this thing to what is our next, company igniter. I'll keep our internal terms out. The next objective that we have to tackle to stay on mission towards creating 100,000 opportunities a year. So that's what we are obsessed with. I'm obsessed with is building the right team of 80. And if we end up with more than 80, that's awesome, because that's just going to put us farther ahead. But the reality of the situation is it's my job to uphold standards, and they will be upheld. And they're upheld for me. I don't necessarily go to the newest person and I'm blitzing them like the second they walk in the door. We've talked about that in other episodes. I'm mainly focused on our leaders, and if they're living what they're talking about. We've all probably seen that meme where you got the leader that is pointing, and I think even some of them like whipping people, and the other one where they're pulling. Our leaders have to pull. They have to lead by example. They have to help our team get wins. They have to be at the forefront of that, and they have to live what our standards are. That's not for everyone. That's super tough. We have high standards. We call it the Spark standard. And they must adhere to that, because there's no way that continues within the culture of our company or yours, or your team or your family, or what. Like, if the leaders don't uphold those things, it will not hold within the team. People will not do things that they see you're not willing to do. So that is a big part of hiring initiatives. I know a couple things about hiring. I'm still learning, but a couple things being that, at this point, we've only put, I don't know, 50, 60,000 people to work over my career. So we learned a couple things about hiring and teams and growth and all that. We're still learning, still have a lot to learn, but we have a little bit of experience with that. The other thing that we've committed to, and I'm not going to announce the location yet, but we have talked, for a period of time about, I think we've even talked about it on the podcast where, we had 9 offices. We went to a hub kind of centralized location here in Troy, Michigan. It's been a huge part of our growth, and it's been very successful and progressing us forward. And it really happened at the time, like over the last 5 years, we've grown 300%. It's been tied to that centralized model. Well, it's been a plan to put other hub locations across the country, and we'll be putting our first one. We've already signed the lease. I'm just not going to announce the location yet, but we've already signed the lease, and we'll be opening that hub location come July of this year, so Q3 of this year. And I look forward to talking about that more. But that has been a major investment that is ongoing, throughout this year and into the future, and couldn't be more excited about it. So outside of that, heavy AI investment, and we're learning on that. And I shared earlier, we took a swing and it didn't exactly work. It's a big part of why we chose the ATS, CRM, that we went with in Salesforce, is we're betting on them adapting well, and Agentforce, and they're like, we're doing other things, which we'll get to in a second, but we're betting on that being best in class for CRM, ATS, when it comes to not only the tool, but the protection of client, candidate, and company data, which I think is a big part of this. That, like, yeah, you can have this great tool and all this stuff, but what's happening with that data? And so we have been aggressive overall on this investment in AI, but conservative in implementation, in making sure it vets on those things. So that continues. But we're going to be doing great things with Salesforce and Agentforce. And then we also have some AI consultants that we're starting to work with, and actually have a meeting, I think, next week, that I'm excited about, because it's just an area that's changing every day. And we're finding just practical areas to implement that into our core business, which is making placements and putting people to work. And, the stuff that we're talking about, I'm a little slow in this area, but I love that what we're talking about is super simple to understand, but can be very effective. And we should see implementation on some of the things that we're looking, that we don't already have on that inside of the next month. So I'm excited to get out there and see what those guys can do with some of our team. So, okay. To kind of button this up, the last 7 months, I can give you all the highlights. We grew 20% overall. It's not good enough. Standard's 100% plus a year, but there's lots to be grateful of and proud of the team on that 20% growth. I could tell you about how we had record EBITDA numbers, and that would be true. And, I could stop there, and it's like, man, like, oh yeah, everything's great. Everything goes perfectly, all this stuff. It has been, that transition in this time has been, it's been full of challenges. It's been full of adversity. It's been full of things that I didn't even mention, that, we have great ideas that work. And I think we have horrible ideas. Are probably my horrible ideas that don't work. I think we have great ideas that don't work because it's the wrong time, wrong person, wrong situation. It's just not, what can be a great idea. To have a great idea be executed, all those things we're talking about earlier need to be true. You need to have the right talent and character. You need to have the right infrastructure. You need to have the right financial resources. You need to have the right, like many things need to come together. Um, so when something doesn't work, it doesn't necessarily mean that it won't work or that you can't do it. It might just not be the right time. I think that more ideas are about, well, all ideas are about execution, in my opinion. You have, like, that's what comes down to, if it's good or bad, it's how you execute. But you may be better set up, or you may not be set up to execute on things that you think you're ready for, or you'd like to be ready for. And so maybe that's just a different way of saying what I was saying before on be a good steward of what you have and what you're executing on, and you know, don't not be creative, or don't not look for opportunities to um, be curious or make improvements, or add a service line or whatever you're going to do. But don't not everything's going to happen at once. It's probably not going to go that way. Okay. So yeah, all that stuff's true. I think, you know, I don't know if this person will listen or not, but I'll share. Like, one of the hardest things within this change is that all this change is so exciting and so good. But within the process of that, one of our leaders, who is a friend of mine, someone I love, I care about, uh, I respect. Um, you know, they weren't comfortable with all the changes, or didn't want to move forward with all the changes, and they're no longer with us. And so there's one that's completely okay. It's part of life. Proud of what we did together, and I'm not convinced that they're not going to be a part of what we're doing again in the future, right? But like, at the time, they weren't comfortable with all the changes. What I wish, it's not for a lack of effort or a lack of conversations, but I wish my words and my ability to walk through what we're doing would have been more influential, in that situation. And it was painful to see that decision, be made, or for us to come to that decision together. And I only share it because, again, like, whatever you're doing, I can get up here and just talk about the growth, just talk about the record EBITDA, just talk about all those ads, and you could sit here and watch this and be like, oh, everything's so perfect. And that's all you're going to see online everywhere. And it's bullshit. And it's definitely not true here. Growth, advancement, records, everything about running a business is pressure. Like, profit, EBITDA growth of a company, like, these things it's friction. It's hard. It's never going to be easy. And people that tell you that are trying to sell you something. It's not. It's freaking hard work. It's not natural to create profit and growth and all the, like, especially at the same time. It's hard. And there's going to be hardships in it. And we definitely had our share of them. But that's where, and I posted about this a couple weeks ago. I'm sharing more on this now, but the 20% growth that we had this year is not 100% growth. I put that all on me and my ability, again, to influence, lead, and will things into existence and get things lined up to execute. I put that all on me. You take the growth that we had and the success we had and the record EBITDA that we have, and all that credit should be pushed to the team. And what I'm so proud of is, with all the things, all the change, the adversity that comes up, we win this account goes away, that's gonna happen, right? I'm so proud of the team for just continuing to show up, working hard, trusting what we're doing, and making progress. Because that's what business is all about. Maybe for me, that's a big part of what my life's about, is making progress and being the best version of myself, and having the company be the best version that it's ever been. There's other things to life too, but it's a big part of my life. And if you're listening to this, it's probably a big part of your life too. That's how it goes. There's always going to be challenges. There's always going to be things to overcome. And, if those things engulf you and you don't grow, like, yeah, you're going to be able to make the excuse of this is why, this is why, this is why. The most respect and like looking back on different pockets of growth and stuff, yeah, you get in sweet spots where everything kind of is flowing, or momentum's a real thing, and you got to do everything you can to do to keep it when you have it and cultivate it. And the other thing that you got to do is adapt and overcome when adversity comes your way, because momentum will come and go, and it's never promised. But one thing's promised for sure, and that's adversity, and we're all going to go through it. And it's not about avoiding it; it's about how you show up and how you overcome it. That's going to define your business, your life, your relationships. I really think it encompasses all parts of life, because it comes for us in all parts of life. And so just so proud of this group on that, that as we weren't in an optimal situation in all buckets, and we had a lot of change, that we found a way to advance and get better. And again, any areas that we need to improve on, that's on me, and I'm working on it daily. Okay. Outside of Spark, real quick, a couple other things going on. From the time we recorded the last podcast to now, we opened 2 more pizza stores too. So there's been a couple things going on. That puts us at 8. We've done an episode or 2 on that, and I hope to do a couple more, just, here and there. But we've added 2 more stores in Ohio, one in October, and then another one just last week. I think it was like December 29th or 30th was the official open day, when we launched, and then like the live open day was last week Wednesday, which we're a couple of days into January. So 2 more stores, and then my wife and I continue on our project of building our new home, which has been a huge project that she owns about 95% of. I don't do too much on it, but that's exciting, blessing, all kinds of work going into that. But we're in the process of building our home that I think we're going to live out our best years and raise our girls at, and make a ton of amazing memories at, with our family, our friends, and yeah, that's been a lot. So that's what's been going on in my world and in the Spark world, and some of my other business areas. And so we're going to get back to doing at least an episode a week. Again, a lot of not recording comes back to what we're working on with the holding company and that IIP plan, and just wanting to be in a state where we felt like we've learned enough about it to talk about it a little bit. So we're there, and I'm excited about that. So thank you for listening. I would ask, if you haven't already, what would really help us out, I greatly appreciate the messages I get, or I've got calls. I just got one the other week, and it's like, hey, or it was actually yesterday that my wife Anna had talked to someone, and they were talking about the podcast, and they're like, hey, my husband, like, they own a couple businesses, and it's actually someone that used to work here, and my wife and I are still friends with, and they have a couple successful restaurants now, and do some other successful things too, in business. And they were like, hey, like, what's going on with the podcast? My husband and I listen, and Aaron hasn't done one in a while, and really appreciate that. It's like we were already planning to record, but I love getting messages like that. I would tell you what we'd appreciate the most and would help us out is if you could leave a rating or review on Apple Podcasts or wherever you listen. I so much appreciate the messages or the calls, or when I see you in person, you mentioning that you listen, and it really is good to hear because it gets us motivated to continue recording these. But what we would appreciate the very most is if you would take time out of your day. Again, I acknowledge that you have to take 30 seconds or a minute or two to do that. But we greatly appreciate if you would leave that rating or review. So thank you. Um, we hope that you'll listen even after this hiatus. Continue to listen, and if anything, after that rating review, if you could share with one other person, probably in business, that's where we spend most of our time. But anyone in leadership or that you think this applies to, if you could share it with one other person every episode you listen to, we'd greatly appreciate that too. If you want to share more than one person, that's also appreciated. But again, we want to be respectful of people's time. If you got something out of this, we just ask that you share it with one other person. Have a great day. It's good to be back. We'll have episodes coming up that I'm excited about. I think we're about to record another one right now, but we thank you for listening and look forward to seeing you again soon.